Well, good morning. Thank you. I saw this report yesterday that someone predicting we're going to have a terrible flu epidemic this winter. Now, you will know if you've watched TV news for the past year and a half, there have been lots of doctors, scientists, epidemiologists who have made all sorts of predictions, most of them doom laden. And this, I'm afraid, falls into that category that someone yesterday says, there's going to be a terrible flu epidemic because what? Because we've all been shielding. We simply don't know, but I'll give you my prediction, and here it is. I work in the front line. I'm not an ivory tower scientist. I work in the front line seeing patients every day. I have seen far fewer respiratory infections in the last year and a half than I would normally do. Hardly any very few chest infections, coughs, colds, flu. Now, that's partly because, of course, people have been isolating, not traveling on public transport as much, not going to work as much. But it is still noticeable and remarkable, particularly in the big cities where there's high levels of pollution. We would have expected more infections. And what I think is happening is that the COVID virus has really pushed out the other virus. It's the survival of the fittest virus. But that's the first point. So I don't think there's going to be a flu epidemic this winter. And I think that doom-laden prediction is wrong. Second thing is we've all got very good immunity now. If 80% of the population have antibodies against this coronavirus, that will work as a non-specific immune boost for the rest of the immune system against other viruses of a similar nature. So we've all got a boosted immune system. And in that sense, we're all much healthier. Now, we'll do a flu vaccine rollout starting in September, of course, and I'm quite sure that with COVID on the way out and no flu epidemic this winter, we can all have a much better winter and a good Christmas, unlike last Christmas.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say it does sound a bit like scaremongering, but correct me if I'm wrong. I know you sort of touched on it. I thought that the reason why we're all being vaccinated was to, and the reason why we want less virus circulating means that eventually, if we do that, we're less likely to get this virus. So therefore, in my head, if there's less flu virus circulating, then why would it be worse over the winter if there's less virus circulating? I don't. To me, it doesn't make sense.
No, it doesn't make sense. I think people are grasping at negative straws. Just, we have won the battle against COVID, fortunately. It's on the way out. I think people are looking for negatives. People are putting two and two together and making 20. They're saying, well, we haven't been exposed to each other as much because we're isolating. Therefore, a new flu virus could come in and rampage through. That really makes no sense because, as I said before, we're all protected. We've all got but everyone that's had a vaccine or had COVID actually has a much stronger immune system than they had 2 years ago. We haven't had a bad flu epidemic for a long time, and in my view, there's no reason whatsoever to believe that we're going to have one this year.
I mean, I have to say, it's so refreshing listening to you, Dr. Gerlis. I wish you could just shout this all out to I hope lots of people are listening and watching us this morning, because absolutely right. Everybody reads the papers and listens to other news stations. That everyone is still thinking, oh, doom and gloom, scaremongering, etc., etc. What you've said is spot on, actually. Yes. And yes, there is a Delta variant. Yes, we've got to be concerned. But equally, we know, and you know, we're going to have to live with these variants for a while, but really things are looking brighter, aren't they? Let's end the interview in that way. Do you believe that?
Very much so. And in fact, I don't believe we are going to have to live with COVID forever, because the vaccines work, and they work against all variants. That we know. So we shouldn't focus on new variants. The vaccines work. None of my patients who had COVID 18 months ago in March last year have caught it again. So once you've had COVID or the vaccine, you cannot catch it again. So yes, we can be very positive, certainly about COVID and about the lack of a flu epidemic this winter. Let's be positive.